Hi everybody. This is The Big Fort, joined by Giulia. She works for 21 Genius. It's a company that teaches you how to learn in the most effective way. And of course, we've got Winston Williams here with us. So we're going to go through what she does and how she does it. Okay, so welcome.
Hello, welcome.
No problem. So yeah, tell us more about what you do and what what the course is all about, and various different things that come along with it. How you came to doing what you're doing.
Sure. So Genius in 21 Days is a course that helps people to really, I think, doing three things mostly in terms of learning. On one side, increase the confidence that you have immensely because you achieve a lot of results that you thought you weren't able to achieve before. And this, of course, breaks some barriers inside of as to the limitations that you thought you had. Yeah. On the other side, it puts you back in charge of your learning. So a lot of people don't really know how to learn, and so they settle for things that are not the ones that they would like to. So I hear so many times people that say, oh, I would love to do this, but I would love to learn Spanish, but it's so hard. Or I would love to start studying medicine, but that's so hard. And that kind of self-talk affects a lot of things. So for sure, being back in charge, knowing that you have a method that depends only on you, that suits your own characteristics, that's extremely important. And the third aspect that I believe is fundamental as well is that after taking Genius in 21 Days, people fall in love with learning again. And that's really what we want for people, because I believe that as human beings, we are here to learn, to evolve, to grow. And unfortunately, through school, through certain kind of experiences, we may fall out of love with learning, but it's possible to love learning again. And when we are passionate about something, we do it more. And learning is something that's fundamental every day. So how do we do that? We basically understand how you are supposed to learn, because at times you hear there are like memory techniques courses, speed reading courses, and although we use memory and memory techniques and speed reading as part of our course because they're fundamental, you can't expect people to learn memory techniques and speed reading all in the same way, because everyone's brain is different. Everyone's way of processing the information is different. Everyone uses different learning styles. And when I talk about learning style, I'm not just saying like visual, auditory, kinesthetic. That's the most common one that you hear about, but there's so many more that people really learn by. And according to what learning styles you have developed, of course, you will like to receive the information in a different way. You will picture it in your mind in a different way. So understanding how you work through a series of assessments that we do at the beginning allows us to help you find your learning method. So something that suits your unique characteristics. And so that's what we do. And by doing this, people can learn anything. So we have professionals that use it to pass professional exams or to get promotions at work. We have students that, of course, their job is to study. So that's perfectly suitable for them. We have people that are looking for jobs that want to increase their competences in order to find the job that they really want, or people that want to learn languages. So that varies. Everyone needs to learn somehow.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the fundamental element in progressing. You need to have that ability to learn, to become more intelligent, so that you can actually grow and increase your awareness of who you are and what you want to do with yourself. So two questions. How did you come up with the concept of 21 days? What's significant about that?
Okay, so disclaimer, I didn't come up with it.
Okay, not you, but the company.
The company, exactly. In Italian, we say, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. And it's an Italian idiom that we use always to keep the paternity of things. Whoever invented it is right to mention it. Now, so then I started working for the company 10 years ago, so something ago now. And the name came from the fact that we didn't want to convey the message that a course like this can be a magic wand. Given that the first part of the course that you do in a group is over a full immersion weekend, because that is amazing. It gives you the energy of having other people, being surrounded by other people that are there for the same reason, and you really break a lot of limits. It's extremely empowering. But you don't want people to think that that's enough, because I would be aware of any kind of course of this kind that is just like a full immersion, one off, and then bye bye. Because you need to have like a springboard like that, but then you need to create a habit. You need to embed the techniques in your everyday life. You need to make them part of how you do things. And in order to do that, the 21 days is a message, because it's one of the times that people mention as the time in order to create a habit. There's
Yes.
a lot of research on that. Some people agree with 21 days, some people don't. But for most people, when you hear 21 days, you think about a habit.
Yes.
And so that's why the name Genius in 21 days. So it's not genius overnight, it's genius in 21 days.
Okay.
But if you give us some of your time in order to help you create that habit, then it's like riding a bike. You learn a skill that becomes an ability, and it's just part of you.
That's fantastic. So how did you come to find this particular company? What was your journey towards this?
So when I was 18, I had a friend who told me about this course. So he took it, and he was a client of Genius in 21 days, and he achieved amazing results. So he was very stuck with his exams. And in Italy, if you don't pass the exams that you want, then you need to repeat the year at uni and pay taxes again. It's like no one wants to get in that situation.
Exactly, yeah.
And he was very behind. So he had only a short time to catch up with all the exams that he had. And he told me that in 2 weeks, he took 6 exams. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I was about to start uni.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, something like that could be very helpful. I went to see a demonstration, and I just loved it, because I had results at school, very good results, but I wasn't able to do the things that I saw during that demonstration. And so I was like, that's very fascinating. And I thought it could be just a great tool to have in my toolbox for life.
Yes,
so
yes.
I started doing it. At the time, it was very different. At the time, all the things that I mentioned about personalizing the method, we hadn't got to that far at the time, but it was very effective in terms of speed reading and memory techniques and mind mapping, which was great. Then I fell in love with what I saw, the change that people were having in their life, in their perception of themselves, in really the kind of goals and dreams that they were daring to pursue. And so I asked my instructor if he could train me to become an instructor myself. And so I started my training in the company in order to become an instructor. So like basically walk up the ladder in order to get and open your own location. And be an independent entity with the same name but a different city, different location. And when it was time to open mine, what I thought was that it would be amazing to come to the UK. And so I brought it here to the UK from Italy. So in Italy, there's like between 30 and 40, like 38, I think right now, locations. In Spain, there are 12. In the UK, there wasn't anything.
Okay.
So I decided to bring it here.
Very entrepreneurial.
I've always loved the traveling, so I never imagined myself being in Italy for too long. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So did you finish your university course as well, or did you do it alongside, or did you just completely?
No, I dropped out.
Okay.
Short answer is I dropped out of uni. Longer answer is that the first year I wasn't working with a company. In Italy, the degree takes 3 years, and I was studying international relations. And because I've always wanted to travel, as I mentioned, I wanted to have a job that would allow me to be in touch with people. I wanted to make a difference. And so I started that, but I wasn't really sure. I mean, that seemed to fit the things, take all the boxes.
Yeah.
So I started, but I wasn't, months and months in, I wasn't really convinced, especially one day in which a diplomat came and we had the opportunity to interview him. And what I saw was a lot of sadness and frustration, because he was saying, what's sad, that we think about perfect solutions inside those 4 walls, but then outside you already know that they will never be applied. And so I was like, do I really want to spend my life like that? And I'm sure there's so many people that have a great impact, but in that moment, that thing resonated with me a lot. And on the other side, I had found the Genius in 21 days. I was a client at the time, but I stuck around, I met other people that had done it, and I loved to see that. So I decided to start my training, and the second year of uni, I did both. So both my training and uni.
Mm-hmm.
However, for the third year, there were a lot of exams that I could take only if I was present in class. So if I had taken a class. And so at that point, also uni was 90 kilometers away from where I was working. So
Okay.
no, that was a fork. I had to choose.
Yeah, yeah.
So I chose for this because I knew that it would be my what I really wanted to do. You know, when you know it's your passion, it's okay.
Yeah, of course. And
My
it's,
parents weren't that happy about that,
but you
they're my
kind of, it seemed like you chose the option that would bring the most value for what you could see and actually make an impact on the people that you're working with directly, which is a
definitely.
very good thing. Very good thing. So when you are now doing the course and helping people, what kind of methods would you use to help? Because because for myself, I've qualified as an athletics coach. So we've got various different methods. We've got a thing called chaining, where we tell people bits of a particular say for example a discipline, and then you put it together bit by bit, and then they've got the whole piece. Or you can directly tell them, or you can do a process of discovery where we get them to do that and then make them aware of the various things that they're doing. If they're making a mistake, you ask them a question: is this the best option? And then they come to the realization that this is probably better doing it a different way. So do you adopt things like that when you're training people?
Very, very interesting question. So, as I was mentioning earlier, everyone learns in a different way. And so I believe that when you teach anyone, if you're teaching one-to-one, you understand how that person learns and you tailor it to that person. When you're teaching to a group, you need to find a way to include as much as possible different ways of learning. So what we do is a mixture. There are some parts in which they're more academical. I don't know. So like we teach the theory, then there's always a lot of practice. There are other parts that I love immensely because they're based more on implicit learning. So people do stuff, they don't realize what they're doing, and then they realize that they've learned a skill and they are amazed, and they never forget those things, especially because it's first, I mean, the emotion that it creates when you realize that you've just done something without knowing that it was bad, and also the fun that you have while learning. Because one component that I think is necessary when you want to learn, and it relates also to what I was saying earlier about being passionate about learning, is having a lot of fun.
Yes.
Now, fun is not usually associated to studying, learning. So people really can't see the two words together.
Yeah.
But in reality, it is possible to have a lot of fun when you learn. When you learn while having fun, not only you enjoy it more, which is important in order to want to do it in the long term, but also it helps you to remember things better.
Yes.
Because the hormones that you release when you're having fun are the same hormones that allow your brain to learn better.
Yes.
So in the moment in which we put the two things together, not only you enjoy more, but also it's much more effective. So that's very, very important.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, because you know, when we look at when we were younger, a lot of how we learn things were through games and things like this, and it really sticks and it really helps. And then for some reason in society, it just sort of changes and everything becomes very, very serious all of a sudden. And I think
that schools didn't receive the memo.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so I'm going through your site, and you've come up with a fantastic acronym for Genius. Can you explain what each part of that means and how it is applied and everything like that? It's really, really, really interesting.
Sure. So the acronym relates to the fact that one of my learning styles is that I love playing with words. And so now that my English is better, I can also play with English words, and that makes me very happy. So the acronym that I found is in the word genius is the 6 steps that you need to go through in order to really become a genius. But in general, I would suggest you to find similar steps in any kind of skill that you want to acquire. Yeah. So the first one, G, stands for goals. So the first step is that you need to set your goals. And then, of course, they may vary. So there may be some people that have very specific goals when they come to us. So I need to pass this exam. I need to learn this language. Other people come with a different kind of goal that's fine anyway, which is I want to keep my brain sharp. I want to acquire these skills so that you never know when I need them. That's fine anyway, but you need to have a direction.
Yeah.
And we have letter E after G, and E stands for evaluation. So in order to personalize your method, you need to be evaluated. And evaluations includes a series of assessments and evaluations about your results, but most importantly about your abilities in learning and your styles. So I imagine you go to a personal trainer and they don't look at you, they have no clue how you are, and they create a plan for you. It's like, okay, no, they need to understand where you want to go, and they need to understand how you are, how your body is, and according to the style that they use, they will look at different aspects, no?
Yep.
And so we do the same. So there's a series of tests in order for you to clarify certain things, and in order for us to understand how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, we have N, which is new techniques. So that's the part of the course, the full immersion weekend that I was saying, in which you acquire the new techniques. So you learn all the fundamentals and you put them in practice, and the goal is for you to really learn the ABC so that then you can become able to write. So you need to learn new things. And after that, we have I, that stands for integration. So it's not enough to learn them during the weekend, but you need to apply them in your everyday life. And so we have a series of sessions, technique practice sessions that you can come to after the weekend, in which you really smoothen the application of all the techniques. You just master them. So they become second nature.
Yeah.
And after I, we have U, and U stands for uniqueness. So this is the aspect that I think I haven't found anyone else doing it like this in a course like the one that we do. So understanding how you work so that you have a personal mentor that works with you as a personal trainer. Today, I just found out you're a personal trainer too. So that's why the metaphor works very, very well.
Yeah.
So as a personal trainer, your mentor works with you one-to-one for 7 one-hour sessions, in which they take everything that you are and that you want to achieve, and they help you create your own learning method. Because we don't want you just to achieve great results in the next few weeks or months, but we want you to be able to achieve the results that you want forever. So you need to learn how to be autonomous, how to apply the techniques to any kind of learning goal that you may have. And then S, which is always important, support system. So there's a community, there are webinars, training sessions that our clients have access to, and you're just part of a group of people, of an environment of people that have achieved certain results. And that, of course, pushes you to do more, to be more committed, to raise the bar. And that's fantastic, because you can retake the course later on throughout the year, so that you can look at it with a different perspective after achieving certain results. You meet a lot of great people, you create connections. So this, I think, is an aspect that makes it more and more valuable.
Okay, that sounds great. So with this Genius method, how have you applied this to your life? Has there been a particular situation where you've been able to apply this and each step to your life in a personal sense or work sense or anywhere?
So for sure, there's many. So it's hard to pick one, but I could say, for example, I mean, the fact that I'm speaking English here, it's already one application, because it's not my mother tongue.
Yeah.
And so I learned, for example, English. I could speak some, before taking Genius in 21 days as a course, but I wasn't this fluent. So I could understand, I could say some things, but I wouldn't have been able to run a course or to coach clients and so on. So English, I learned Spanish like this as well.
Okay, fantastic.
And then in terms of university exams, when I was going to uni, I would have never, when I decided to be an instructor, I had the temptation of dropping out of uni before when I actually did. But I told myself, no, first I need to create the reference that I achieve great results. Otherwise, what am I? I mean, I believe in, you need to be consistent if you want to teach something, no? So that was my task at the time. And one of the things that we teach is also, if you don't want to do it, but you have to do it, you find a way to do it. So I did it, and I had great results there. And then business. In business, the amount of ideas that you can have, I believe that creativity comes from linking all dots in new ways. And learning like this allows you to have a lot of dots. So having a lot of knowledge that you get from articles, books. I constantly have new books, new things. Then I like paper, so like books.
Yeah.
Not always, but most of them are not ebooks. Are just so in my house is full of books and stuff,
Yeah.
because that creates the structure that then your mind can work with and
Yes.
find the new ideas. And that's very, very, very important. So being efficient at business, being productive. People at times look at me and they're like, how can you do all these things? And I'm like, I mean, I teach it. So that's
Yeah,
why, not that I'm a superwoman. I just teach, it's techniques that you can apply so that you
exactly.
can really be productive and less stress, have a lot of fun while doing it. You know, I see here in London, there's so many people that do a lot of stuff, but they're stressed out at the end of the day. They're not happy. They go to bed with that feeling of another day, rather than the excitement that you have when you're building your dream, when you're doing things that you love, when you're doing a lot of things, but it's like a passion. So
Yeah.
it's not, oh my God, I'm working all day. It's like, yeah, I'm working all day. I mean, if you want to call it work, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can totally relate to that, because personally I'm doing quite a few things at the same time, and people are always like, oh, how can you do this, that, and the other? And it's just one of these things where when I went to university, I realized how long 24 hours actually is, because when you are at university, you've got maybe 3 or 4 lectures in the day, if that, and then the rest of the time's yourself. So you've got a real sort of understanding of time management and everything like this. So if you apply those techniques, the things that you're talking about, and various other things and tools that you picked up over time, if you structure a day, you can get quite a lot done. Like if you spend a couple of hours here, like when I wrote my book, The Little Book of Empowerment, I would just write. And when I did that, I wrote the whole thing in 4 days, because I sat down and I dedicated a certain amount of time, and I said, I'm going to hit 2,000 words every single day. Boom, 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 knocked it out completely. And that was that. And you just structure yourself. And then after that, I went to do my paintings. And then after that, I did this, something else, so you just structure your day in such a way. And I think a lot of people don't choose unhelpful things, so they become unproductive. So for example, whereas I would choose to do these, that, and the other, someone might go to the pub and socialize for 3 or 4 hours. Whereas for me, that's not as productive as it could be. And in that time, I could have got closer to finishing my book, painted 3 or 4 paintings, made a few, contacts and this, that, and the other, and progressed myself in a different way. So I think it comes down to choices as well.
Definitely.
It comes down to choices. So what happens in the course when you meet someone that's particularly difficult? They've got a limiting belief in their mind, where they believe they've got like certain life experiences which have told them that they're not good enough or they're not worthy of something, and they're looking for your course to give you the answers, but really they're not quite there.
So I love the course for how it's structured, because it helps to help these people a lot as well. So with the fact that somehow all of us have some limiting beliefs in terms of what we can achieve or what we are worth and so on, what happens during the course is that there's so the work that you do before the weekend, so with all the assessment, the delivery of your tests, so you get to know what's already on a deep level, and that allows you already to unlock certain things. And then after you have unlocked those aspects, you come to the weekend, and during the weekend it's just so engaging and interactive that at times there are people that have a bit more resistance, because they they see the results that they would like to have, but they don't feel they will be able to achieve them. And so if they're at the course, it's already because they want to, okay, otherwise they wouldn't be there. But that resistance is there. It's like conflict that at times you have. And so the way the course is structured is it gradually takes you to break one belief after the other without realizing most of the times. And in a very engaging way, interactive, practical, so that you're doing stuff, and at the end you realize that you're different, and you're like, wow, how did that happen? Now I believe that I can do it. For example, taking the example that you were mentioning, no? Or now I believe that I can really learn that language, or that I can start uni, or I can finish uni, or I can get the job that I want, I can have the role that I want. And that's very powerful for me. And so in that, I think that the style, so first of all, of course, the trainers, so I train the course, and then there are some mentors, our mentors, that also hold some parts of the course. And all of us, when we are in front of the room, or of the screen right now
Yeah.
because of lockdown. When we are talking with all the clients at the course, what we make sure of is that first of all, we need to have zero judgment. And that's something that is very, very important, because the energy that you have does most of the job. If people speak with me and they know that I'm not judging at all, and they understand them, they already allow themselves to feel more free. Very often people don't allow themselves to change because they feel that you want to approve of them, that you will judge, and that becomes their biggest limit. Consider that the school environment is also like that. So at school, we learn to be a bit afraid of asking questions, for example, because people could point the finger at us, or having fun. If you laugh at school, you're the tension rather than, oh, wow, well done that you're having fun. So of course, there's I don't want to criticize the school system because I think it's much more complex than this, but that's a mechanism that happens. And so when you are again in that school environment, maybe haven't been in a long time, certain dynamics may come again. And so what we need to make sure of is that we understand them and that they feel that we understand them. And when that happens with how the course is structured, the job is not that hard in helping them to break the limits. What I think the Genius has that I love, and that's, we also run some personal development courses, which is fantastic, but Genius helps you to break limits in a different way. Because when you are actually able to do things that are tangible things that looked impossible before, and then you do them, and you can't doubt. I mean, it's like, it's on paper. You see it. You're like, before you weren't able to do it, and now you are. And that shakes certain things because it's very tangible. So even people that are more rational or fact-oriented, they see it and they're like, okay, how can I doubt now? Where do I find the excuse now? No? And then this unlocks certain things that some people wouldn't be ready to unlock if it was just a course on other topics, because they would be less tangible maybe. And this helps them really shift. And
it just shows and highlights the importance of actually doing something practical and not just theoretical all the time, because when it's theoretical, it's intangible and you can create all sorts of illusions around that and sort of open the door to self-doubt and all sorts of things like that. So when you actually physically, like you said, when you actually physically see the results, it's undeniable. You can't, those limiting beliefs just suddenly go out of the window. It's just fantastic.
With the hormonal side you were speaking about earlier, when you start to have this, you begin to build this efficacy at you can do stuff like, let's say the first thing in the morning you do is make your bed, and you start doing these small tasks in the morning. So you start raising these hormones and these feelings that you can actually do stuff. So it's perfect that you show them again in the end that you can do this. There's no excuse to believe you can't.
Yes. And then always feeling still allowed to make mistakes. So you don't want to end up then in the other direction. So now that I've done it, I can't fail anymore because then you create another block. And no, that's not the goal. So it's okay. Now you've done it and it's one step. Your 100% today may be different from your 100% tomorrow. The goal is give your 100%, but aware that you don't evaluate it day by day. You evaluate in the longer run. So with the people need to allow themselves to make mistakes. People need to allow themselves to fail. Otherwise, paralysis comes in and people don't do stuff, and there's sabotage, and there's fears that you're stuck, and that's not how you create the life that you want. So feeling very free. The concept of freedom for me is very, very important, and I think that feeling free starts from feeling free to be judged without being affected by that, feeling free to make mistakes without thinking, okay, I'm less worth it, or just feel free to be yourself. And then we bring out the best.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept about the failure thing, because that's going around a lot in the sort of development sort of areas now. People are approaching things in a different way, saying that, seeing failures for what they are is just a temporary illusion to say that you wasn't quite up to the mark at that point, but you've got another opportunity. You've learned something and you can move on and always correct it at a later stage. And some people even actively encourage problems so that it helps them actually develop their mind to create answers to be able to help them and move forward. Do you adopt that kind of approach?
So I don't create problems on purpose.
Not create problems. Not create
But,
problems. When there is a problem, it's something that's actually welcomed, as opposed to being something that's scared, because then it gives you an opportunity to actually try to figure something out and really come up with a new angle and be innovative and all those types of things.
I think there are two kinds of problems that we could have. On one side, we have problems that we can actually change. So we can find a solution to that specific problem. Other times there are things that we can't change in themselves, but that we can learn how to turn into an opportunity. Because at times there are people that say everything is good, no? Maybe not everything is good in itself, but I think that as human beings, we have the ability to turn every situation into something that is an opportunity or a gift for us. So, for example, when I came to London, when I had to choose where to come, London wasn't my plan A. My plan A was to go to the States. And I even went there, explored, understood how it worked. I really wanted to live in the States and open Genius in 21 days there. But when we applied for the visa, it was rejected.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, that's one of those things that you can't change. So it's not that in that moment you can say, okay, now I can change it. And I'll ask the guy, hey, please give me the visa. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can either wait for some months, understand, even though they don't tell you what's wrong in the application, and do it again, or I can see another solution. And in that moment, I thought, listen, I speak English. I want to go to an English-speaking country. The UK was still part of Europe at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, why not? And the founder of Genius in 21 Days, who's my instructor, a very good friend of mine, Luca Lorenzoni, he jumped in and he said, absolutely, do that. And so I came to London, and by falling in love with London, I thought, okay, I really don't want to be in the States anymore. And it turned out to be a huge gift.
Yeah.
I would have never thought about London. I don't know why London didn't come to mind before, but it didn't. That was the journey that I had to go through, right? And and so it's amazing because now I'm here, and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met the people that I've met. I wouldn't have created a company in the way I have created it here, and I wouldn't be working with the people I'm working with here. So many things that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't turned that failure into an opportunity to look at the thing from a different perspective.
Yes, that's it.
So I agree absolutely 100%.
Yeah, that's great. That allowed you to discover a new element to yourself and create a new version of what you originally thought of doing. So how is the company in London different from how it is in Italy or Spain? Have you managed to create your own sort of version of what you're doing and made it unique?
Yes, again, it's problems that turn into opportunities, because, for example, in Italy and Spain, we work mostly with university students, which is fantastic. And I love when we have a university students at the course here. However, the way university works here is very different from Italy and Spain. There's a series of reasons why initially we were trying to get to university students, because we were in the, okay, let's do like we did in Italy, but it didn't work out the same way. However, here we end up working with a lot of young professionals and business owners, and that has expanded a lot of things. London and the UK work in a different way in terms of business compared to Italy. So adjusting, adapting, and London is also so full of cultures from everywhere in the world that I really had to change a few things. Because Italians are amazing. I love Italians.
Yeah.
I'm Italian, but we don't have a perspective of the global world at times.
Yeah.
And so we're very Italy-centric, let's say.
Yeah.
And so having the opportunity to really meet people from everywhere in the world and adjust the delivery of the course, but also certain concepts, certain ways of teaching certain things to different cultures, that's very, very powerful. And so that's different. And then, of course, every center will be different. So what I love about Genius in 21 Days in general is that we're all the same brand. We teach the same things. We gather every month. Right now we do online every week, every 2 weeks, so even better, to share knowledge, to share strategies. We have great collaborations with in English, I think it's called Center of National Research, Council of National Research in Italy, which is the biggest Italian associations of researchers. It's one of the 10 biggest in the world. So we have a collaboration with the researchers there in order to divulge the research that they have done in this 20 years. We have psychologists, psychiatrists, we have scientists that are working with us. And that's something that you can achieve as a team. If it was just one person, it would be harder to create, it would take much longer.
Yes.
I think as a team, you can go not just further, but at a certain point also faster, because everyone can focus on different aspects and you can grow faster. And but everyone, just to close the point, everyone keeps their own individuality. So everyone runs their center in a different way. And that's amazing, because all of us, if you met us all in a room, we're all very different from each other. And like, how can they, but we share common values, a common direction, common mission. And then of course that.
Yeah, everyone's goal. You answered the question in the same way. You just want to add value and make sure people get to achieve the things that they're out for. And once you've all got that unified goal, it doesn't really matter where you come from individually. You will all unify at that one end goal.
I'm curious if the lessons that you've learned in the UK, have your colleagues in Spain, Spain and Italy, you said, have they been able to take lessons that you've learned and implement it in their countries and their cultures?
Oh, that's very nice. So right now we have centers in Switzerland, Spain, Italy. There's one center in the US now, and Ghana, and here. Nice. And so I learned a lot also from Ghana, because when we ran the first course in Ghana, basically one of our mentors, our senior mentor, is originally from Ghana. So he's British, but his heritage is from Ghana. And so when he took Genius, he really wanted to bring it there as well, and to just give this opportunity to people there. And so we started this project, and last year we went to Ghana and we ran a lot of courses in Ghana. And one thing that I learned during the first course, we had a lot of children, because a school was extremely fascinated by the concept. And so they invited a lot of families, and so there were a lot of children. And it's a long time. I mean, it's a full immersion weekend, as I was mentioning. So we weren't sure how they would take it. Then it was very, very hot. So I was like, okay, what can we do? And we started introducing a series of activities initially for children. But we realized that the adults were enjoying a lot. And I was like, okay, interesting. So we tried it in London. And in London, we thought, okay, like more professional, business oriented, maybe. And they enjoyed it so much, and they learned so much easier. And so we started introducing it. And I know that some people in Italy now have asked me, because they've seen maybe, that, as I mentioned, you can retake the course also for a year. And at times we have some people that take it in Italy, Italians, but then they want to practice their English. And so they come and retake it here. Or some mentors that want to practice English and they come and attend here. And so it's nice, because some of these mentors have brought back to their centers some aspects. So like these kinds of activities, or the way some of the training that we have created specifically for here, but that are now being spread also there. So it's very, very interesting how you can really exchange knowledge.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. So what would you say is coming to England is the biggest cultural impact on you, like personally, and how, like, adopting, for example, as you said, they have different educational systems in Spain and Italy and England. What was the biggest challenge you faced or had to overcome with people that have been educated in this country to try and break a particular habit that may not have been as helpful as it could have been or could be?
That's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
So I would say, I think there's a couple of aspects. So I don't know if it is UK or if it is London, because London is, its own reality in the UK. But one thing that I've noticed, so here people are much more polite and are much more professional, which has a lot of advantages and also some disadvantages. So the fact that they are more professional is great. However, at times it became the excuse not to get certain messages. So at times it's like a bit of a know-it-all attitude from some people that have been very educated and so on, that helps to create barriers to change. Then these barriers go down, but it slows down the process. And so that's an interesting one. Or this politeness, or not saying the things directly, because can't. And so in Italy, if you have a problem, you just discuss it and you say it. Here, several times it happened that maybe someone had a situation, but they wouldn't tell you, or they wouldn't tell their mentor, they would tell someone else. And so that it would come to you and you're like, I'm here. I never bit, I've never bit anyone. I'm like, just talk, no? But it's culture. If as an Italian, you would take it personally. So you would say, why didn't you talk with me? And you would feel disrespected. But it happened on some people that I know have a high respect for the mentor that they were talking about, or for the person they were talking about. But it was just their way of not wanting to be aggressive, but wanting the message to come across. So like understanding certain dynamics is very, very important, because it helps you to just lower that barrier.
Yeah, it comes back to the one of the points you made earlier, but having a safe, secure area to be able to communicate, and creating that environment is so important, as you just demonstrated, because if that person obviously may not have felt culturally not felt comfortable to be able to speak to you directly, because in English culture it is something that we do, it's very indirect, especially if we have a problem. So yeah, it's very important that you create that environment, and it's good for you to sort of make those people aware as soon as they sort of enter the course to do that. And I think that's a good thing. I think more people need to do that. It needs to be adopted more, especially in England, because you miss out on a lot of stuff where people could be suffering or not happy with a particular thing, and they don't say anything until the point gets to something that's just unbelievable, especially in their mind. It gets so big, and it takes a lot longer to unravel everything.
True.
I
always say kill the monster until it's small.
Yeah, when it's small,
the more it's big, and so it's harder to face afterwards. But if you start immediately, that's it. And so as a trainer, my role, once I spot this thing, what's the role? It's not in just saying, okay, they're different, but it's understanding, okay, how can I get through that barrier throughout the course already, so that this situation doesn't even arise next time. And so it's always a learning curve, because you understand certain things, and so you try to tweak the way you say one thing or the other, so that the environment that they feel part of is also an environment in which they feel safer, also to say something that they wouldn't have said to anyone outside.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially with communication, especially with the language you use also. Do you find that, just as you said, you're learning the language, that you found that when you translate things from Italian to English in your mind, that it may not be the right word maybe, and you had to learn to how to address, because obviously saying certain words creates different sort of images in your mind, and you have completely different reactions from, even if your intentions are good.
Yeah, that happens a lot culturally in Italians. So Italians are not PC, okay, at all. So we have a lot of even idioms that we just use without realizing, but they can really be not nice, and but about, racist, sexist, politically incorrect, but it's but not because we're bad people, but just because that's how we have always been used to being and talking, and so at the beginning, this was very, very important to understand and say, okay, wait, you can't say that thing. And fortunately, we have had some great friends and clients here that have trained us on these things, because for us, it was just, why can you not? It's just normal. What's the problem? There's no bad intention. No, you cannot. And I'm like, okay. So we learned at times with mistakes, and but even things on which certain cultures are very touchy. Touchy because, of course, those things have been part of their history. I remember there was an example that was made in Italy in one part in which you teach how to memorize a foreign word. Okay, so something extreme, not personal at all. It's just really a technique. But in an example that was made, how do you call them here? Double S. But the Nazi were mentioned. Yeah. And once we had a lady at the course that was half Japanese and half German. And in that moment, she started crying and she left the room.
Wow.
And initially we couldn't really understand, we understood, we spoke with her, and everything was sorted and
Yeah.
fine. But that was a big point for me, because it was like, okay, wait, that's something. Also, there wasn't any comment about the Nazis. It was just mentioned, so it wasn't even one of the most non-PC things that we say. But it was very impactful for her. And so I think that as Italians, one thing that we had to learn was to go beyond the judgment that could happen, because the Italian normal reaction would be, yeah, come on, it was just, I mean, why? You're exaggerating, no?
Yeah.
And that would be the normal Italian reaction, but you can't think like that if you live here. And so learning how to really feel for the person and empathize, and then tweak certain things so that example is not part of the course anymore, for example, but like just to understand it. So tweak some parts, but also make sure that you empathize more with what the person could feel according to the culture that they come from.
Yeah, that's very important, to have that empathy and respect for other people, because you don't know their journey. And when you're coming into a situation like this, where you're first meeting them, you have no idea. Obviously, you had no idea of her past or whatever she must have gone through for her to react like that. So it's very important to really stare as down the middle as you possibly can be. So it's an interesting thing.
That's something that we had to get.
Yeah. So what do you see for what you're doing in the future? How do you see things moving on in the future, and how do you progress? Have you got some new ideas, new techniques, new tools that you want to implement that are in the works at the moment?
So always new ideas and new things. So one of my musts in life is that we run the course once or twice a month, it depends. Every course, there needs to be something different from the course before. So something improved, something like even a small tweak, something that makes it better. Because if you do like that, month by month by month, I mean, if you came to see our course now and you had taken it 2 years ago, you wouldn't recognize it. I mean, the concepts are there, but it's completely different and improved, because that's the purpose of life, and also to keep evolving, to keep growing, and that's important. And right now we are coming out with a book, so in a couple of weeks it will be published, and so that will be a big step that we. And
what's the title of this book, and what's it about? Give us a little short sales pitch.
So it's called The Genius by Choice.
Yeah.
And it's about some of the techniques that we teach at the course, and all the ones that you can learn without real personalization, because of course in a book you can't personalize things, but it's most of the techniques that you can learn without a personalization. So it walks you through all the stages of learning. And when you learn, you always need to keep in mind that there are 5 stages of learning, and another acronym, because I love the thing with time. So first you need to prepare. So you need to organize your time in order to be able to do it, your motivation, to have the right strategy. Then you need to read, and so understand how to read faster, more effectively, with less distraction, absorbing more. And then you need to internalize information. So process the information, decode it, organize it. So all the aspect of really translating what is written into the way your mind thinks. Then you need to memorize what you want to remember, and remember it also in the long term when needed. And then E stands for expression, because once you've learned something, you want to make sure that you can perform as well. So that includes performing under stress, public speaking, expressing your ideas clearly, because very often people know things, but if you can't express them clearly, you can't showcase your preparation. So it walks you through all these stages, and teaches you a lot of things that you can apply in each of them.
That's fantastic. That's really good. So you've got that coming up in the future. In terms of where you're going to do with this particular course, do you feel like you can take it to a different country a little bit further down the line? Is that dream of America still there in your mind?
So the interesting thing is this, that lockdown has been a great opportunity in this sense, because we used to run the course only in person, and we have our office in Moorgate, and so people would come there and we would run it there. And that, of course, created a limit in terms of space, in terms of space of the room, and in terms of place. and location. So right now with lockdown, we have had people from a lot of different countries that have enrolled for our course, and that's amazing. So we have some clients that took the course in London that are from America though, and so from the United States. And so actually, funnily enough, we are also working with the States right now, and it's fantastic because it's like closing cycles, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then we have people from a lot of different countries. So absolutely, I would like to, when lockdown ends, what I would like to do is on one side to keep running courses online. So we will go back to running them also live for those people that can come here, because it's nice, you see people, and that's amazing. But also online, because I think it gives us a great opportunity to reach more people, and people that otherwise wouldn't be able to learn all these things. So that's for sure. And then I'm training new instructors. So most of our mentors, so we have some mentors that do something else in their life, but they've gone through all the training to become mentors, and they mentor our clients. There are other mentors that are in a journey to become instructors themselves. And so they are learning everything that they need to learn in order to be able to open their own location. And so the idea is to expand like this. So to have a lot of wonderful people that will be instructors themselves, and that will have their own place where they can run the course from.
That sounds really good. You're really empowering people to really get out there and do their own thing. It's just really great. Really, really great. Okay, so let's finish off with a few questions for you. So name me three qualities that you believe are your strongest qualities, and then three qualities that you wish you want to improve on using the methods that you teach, and how you would get there.
Sure. So qualities that I believe I have that are my strong suits are the empathy in terms of understanding the person that's in front of me, the intelligence, so intelligence in a broad sense of having different kinds of intelligence, and like creativity, all everything that's related to intelligence, and lightness. So taking things light, living life as a game, not getting too heavy when bad things happen, but finding a solution and enjoying.
Perspective on things.
I mean, we don't.
Oops, you're breaking up a bit.
How many days, and that ties into the sense of making a difference.
Yeah.
And in terms of the ones that I want to improve,
yes.
So I believe you can always improve all qualities. So it's always hard for me to rank things, just so you know, for the future.
No, it's no ranking. just there's three things.
And I was thinking, for sure, I would like to become even better at managing resources. So at times I'm a hard worker, so I tend to do a lot of stuff. And I want to become more able to manage resources in terms of time and people, mostly, in order to focus on one specific goal. I'm creative. Sometimes I'm a lot of ideas. And one thing that I'm focusing on right now is, okay, one thing at a time. So you implement this idea, and then you move on to the next one, and then to the next one. Otherwise, all your energy is a bit dispersed.
Yes.
So that's two, I think we can include. You know? And the third one, now the third one that I want to improve right now is, so I'm studying a lot in terms of business growth. So we have always run business with a lot of passion, a lot of attitude, but I haven't really studied how to run a business in details with all the financial aspect and so on. And so that's something that I've started working on a lot. And so I think that it's fundamental, because if you want to really grow and expand in a certain way, you cannot just have a family-run business, but you need to move on to the next stage. And so that's what I'm doing now. So in order to really grow, what we want to do is so it's my responsibility. So what I am doing, not the other guys can keep enjoying for now, but like studying all these aspects so that you can read through the numbers certain things, and that ties very well into the creativity part, because it allows you to understand which ideas to give space to right now rather than others. And at that point you can really expand. So
yeah, so you just want sustainable growth.
Yes, and that's something that can work very well with the course. You were saying skills that you can improve through your program. This is for sure. Studying all these things, it's much easier now that I know how to apply the techniques.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. Okay, so Winston, do you have any other questions you'd like to ask?
No, literally, I've just been fascinated by what you're doing. Gavin and I, as you know, we're both into personal development and coaching people. So it's really interesting hearing your way of doing things. There's a lot of things that I can resonate with in the way that I speak to clients. So it's very interesting, and I'm wishing you the best with that in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, the same here. It's been fantastic talking to you, and you've got some great acronyms there. And I'm sure your book's going to do very, very well, and your course is going to expand, because it sounds like a really worthwhile thing to do, and to really give people that sort of structure and education to be able to then apply it to other things. I feel like it's missing, especially in the early stages of our education. I believe these things are fundamental for us to really improve and set us up better for life, and we shouldn't really have to find it as adults. Even though it is available, it should be something that's part of our growth. So yeah, great job. Sounds fantastic.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you've had a chance to attend our free masterclass yet, but I would suggest you to do if you're interested in the topic, because we explain some of these things, also some angles that didn't come out now, so it can be interesting to watch.
I'd love to see that. It's your opportunity now to promote your stuff. Tell us where we can find you, your Instagrams, your websites, just do the whole thing.
So let's start. No, the website is geniusin21days.co.uk.
Yep.
And there you find already a lot of resources in the blog. You find how to book for the free masterclass and so on. Then on Instagram, you find this as Genius21UK. And there we put tips and suggestions. So you can already have a lot of free resources. And then we have our Facebook page, Genius in 21 Days UK. So mostly right now we're using Instagram. We're using the blog. And we have opened just very, very recently a YouTube channel where we put tips that you can learn about learning. So it's tips in general to excel at work, exams, and languages. So you will find different tips, and that's called the Genius in 21 Days UK.
Brilliant. Sounds like you got all bases covered. I like it. It's very good. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there. Okay, I've been Gavin Nassine, and this is Winston Williams, joined by the lovely Giulia from Genius in 21 Days. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.